is it a major shift in Democrats' narrative tonight, claiming one of their first two witnesses, diplomat Bill Taylor, tied the president to a bribery plot involving the Ukrainian president.
Are we now going to say that other official acts can be conditioned on another country giving something of value to the President of the United States?
There was no quid pro quo. Pure and simple.
Never once did President Zelensky announce that he was going to start any type of investigation into Burisma or Biden's. Never once. And yet the aid got released. So the facts are the facts.
Okay, let's bring in chief political anchor, also the anchor of special reports, spent the day covering this, Bret Baier. Good to have you with us.
Hi, Shannon.
Okay, so there's been a lot of conversation about quit using the words quid pro quo. The average American doesn't get it. Let's talk about other stuff. The AP today saying the impeachment inquiry in many respects is about controlling the narrative. On Wednesday, Democrats seem to start to frame President Trump's actions as possible bribery and extortion rather than using these words emphasizing a quid pro quo. Did you sense that shift today?
A little bit. I mean, listen, the main questioner on the Democratic side is a former U.S. attorney from the District of Manhattan and went after mobsters. So he kind of wanted to frame some of those questions about setting the table, I think, for the narrative that they were trying to go for. That said, the big question here is, did anything today move the needle at all for any Republican? Remember, the House inquiry vote was all Republicans against it and 2 Democrats against it. Did Democrats change the dynamic today? And was this their star witness or witnesses? If so, they've got an uphill battle to make this case by the time you get to the end of next week.
Yeah, Professor Jonathan Turley writing a piece talking about how, like with anything, when you go to build, you have to have a broad foundation before you start to build up. And he questions what Democrats are doing here. He says they're laying a foundation that would barely support a bungalow, let alone a constitutional tower. Such a slender impeachment would collapse in a 2-mile headwind in the Senate. Goes on to say this impeachment may be intended to last only as long as it takes to burn it to the ground. I mean, he doesn't feel like Democrats have come yet with any really good case.
I think the most telling moment was Congressman Radcliffe when he looks at the 2 witnesses and says, is there anything impeachable on that call? Tell me you have that.
And for you, Bret, we have got that. So here it is. We've read your mind.
In this impeachment hearing today, where we impeach presidents for treason or bribery or other high crimes, where is the impeachable offense in that call? Are either of you here today to assert there was an impeachable offense in that call?
That's where the crickets started chirping.
The crickets start chirping. There's silence. Eventually, Taylor comes to the mic and says, I'm not here to make a determination. That is your job. But that is the bottom line question. It's not even the hearsay stuff and whether they heard this or whatever. It is really, is it impeachable? And can you get the American public to put pressure on Republicans, especially in the Senate, if the House moves forward with impeachment?
And because there are questions now about whether, if it is going to be about policy differences, if that's the crux of this, as some suggest, then how can we stop any president from being impeached? Because there are always going to be people within the infrastructure, the bureaucracy, who don't agree with what they're doing. A New York Post opinion piece talks about this. Is impeachment going to be the new normal of American politics? Asking, it would be a quantum leap in partisan antagonism. In the past, Americans regarded impeachment as an extreme rarity, a sort of civic apocalypse. But in the future, it might become merely another ritual of hardball politics.
Well, maybe it does, but maybe the backlash from an impeachment scares people enough politically that it doesn't happen. That's what happened with President Clinton. After he's impeached, it actually goes the other way as far as political seats that were lost or won. It could happen this way, that way. There's some reporting tonight that Republicans in the Senate are considering stretching out this trial to go all the way up to the Iowa caucuses to be able to keep some of these Democratic Senate candidates in the Senate at a trial instead of on the trail in Iowa. If they're thinking about that, that means they think they're in a good position after just day 1 of these hearings.
And what are we talking about? Are there 6 current senators? I keep losing track because there are like 45 people running for president right now.
But, you know, they're supposed to be narrowing the field. The field is actually getting
growing. I don't know how it's
bigger.
working this way. But you can imagine that Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell would only be too happy to tie them up into a 6 to 8 week race that they're not going to want to be involved with a trial when they need to be out there. I mean, it's a critical time if you're running for president.
Yes, and that would be all the politics. So that, to the answer to your question, if there's a backlash or there's a sense that Republicans somehow are going to gain advantage, that would prevent this impeachment Obama from happening again and again.
Anything you're looking ahead to Friday, and of course we have 3 days of this at least already next week. Are they running out of steam already on day one?
I do think that the testimony of Ambassador Sondland will now be much more a focus after this statement that Ambassador Taylor said that he had an aide who heard a phone call that was supposed to be from President Trump to Sondland saying he was concerned about the investigations. President Trump said he didn't remember that call, but there's a lot of things that Sondland had told Taylor that directly he can be asked about under oath, and that makes that a little bit more of a focus. But again, moving the needle, we'll see.
Yeah, Yovanovitch as well. So we'll be tuned in for coverage. Bret, thank you for a recap tonight. Good to see you.
You bet.